everybody, welcome to episode number 10, double digit episode of Spike Drop. We made it here finally. I'm KickedTripod, joined by Volamel, and surprisingly, I didn't actually know that we were going to have Yiska for the show. I'm going to be honest. I had no idea that Yiska
maybe
was
I
coming.
phrased it a little weirdly.
But he's here anyway, and it's going to be a fun time. So we're doing this show live. So right now we're waiting on the partnership application on Twitch, and part of that means that we have to stay above 75 concurrent viewers on Twitch to do that. And Spike Drop is small and new, so not as many people tune in for that live. So we're still doing a live show, but we're doing it on Discord, and we're going to do that until we hear back about our partner application. So if you want to tune in for the live shows of this one, you can tune in on Fridays at noon at discord.me/Yiska out. There's a podcast recording channel. You can hop right in. You can see the stream exactly like you would. We have a text chat and live podcast discussion where you can post right there. And there's like no latency or lag on this. So it's pretty cool. And it also is really easy on the bandwidth. You can go like audio only and stuff like that. So we're going to keep doing that for the foreseeable future until we hear back a little bit more. Besides that, you can follow the show on YouTube at youtube.com/SpikeDrop. Big thanks to Blue for our music. And, of course, you can listen to the show on all your favorite podcast outlets. All right, boys. We're done. We're ready to go. Ready to go. We've got a stacked week, so let's just get into the news. All right. Blog post hit this morning called How We Balance Valorant. Valorant. Balancerant. Balancerant.
That's the one.
How we do. Anyways, David Milk Cow Cole, Valorant game designer, posted a blog this morning about just kind of the balance philosophy beyond or about or around Valorant. And it was kind of interesting and insightful. It's really great. I love the open transparency that they're like, you might not like how we balance or why we balance, but at the very least, we want you to know how and why we balance, which I think goes a long way. The Overwatch League or the Overwatch team really didn't give us a ton of that insight, right? When we were doing Overwatch, we didn't know if they were balancing for top 500 players. We didn't know if what information that they were using. We didn't know what those kind of design balance goals were. And that kind of created this really hostile community environment where, the top 500 players are upset because balance changes don't make sense to them. And then the lower gold plebs are like, why can I not do all this cool stuff with Symmetra anymore or whatever? And, you kind of ran into all of these inconsistencies in kind of how the balancing worked. And we kind of learned a little bit about it when Hero Pools was announced, and Jeff was like, we're going to stop balancing around everybody, and we're going to balance more towards the hardcore gamer and the competitive esports landscape. So that's kind of the first time that I really remember that they really were upfront and forward about that. But Valorant is doing it week 1 of competitive, which is kind of neat. Hey?
Yeah, it's interesting to read through. It's a lot of just structure. I appreciate, again, to kind of echo what John's saying, I appreciate the transparency. I just don't know really what to do with it.
I mean, it provides, for instance, a nice guideline of reasoning or thinking model, if you want, or like mental model as to how they approach everything, right? And for instance, let's take an issue like Flex Q and Team Q. So big topic on Twitter, and people are outraged about the fact that they cannot climb the ladder without a stack, seeming. Now, if you think about that, like the design feature, this I think from my feeling of this is a thing that is very different depending on where you are at your level of play. Because think of the solo and role queue in the following way. You go into a match and the matchmaker gives you opponents based on the MMR that everyone has in a solo queue match, right? And the aggregate of everyone should be roughly the same of whatever that number is.
Mhm.
Now you get these players, and depending on their group size, they are being added a weight to that queue, right? So let's make an artificial number so we can. Let's say we got, in the first example, we had a team with 1,000 MMR and 1,000 MMR on the other side. That is made up of all 5 players having 200 MMR, for instance, right?
Right.
And of course, in between them, there could also be things where they say, okay, if this player is so much better, then this, like, the average needs to be higher. Okay. Doesn't matter that it's not strictly, this is not how it exactly works, but it's close enough, right?
Mhm.
Like the I'm not going to explain the minutia of like how that, there are definitely scenarios where that isn't true.
Yeah.
Now, if you are 1,000 MMR individual stack, you will not be paired against a solo queue stack of 1,000. Your rating will be artificially boosted, weighted to be 1,100, for instance, and we'll be playing against solo queue players if there is indeed no other stack to have the 1,100, right? So what then happens is this works phenomenally well until you hit the ceiling at the very top, where there is no group of 5 that could have a higher MMR and could be better players than T1 playing ranked as they did, right? So what do you do at the top? It obviously breaks there. Now, from a game design perspective, you don't care about, or that's not your priority. You can design systems that, recognize that reality and say, okay, at immortal rank and above, we're going to have a different system, and it needs to be flex or solo queue or something like this. Like, that is possible. So to see, like, for instance, their design philosophy here, they highlight that it's important that these systems are sort of like happening, especially like the tactical part, on every single level of play, right? Like and they highlighted this in the information loop, going from like scouting to, if the people are watching this, I can't quite find the part of the article where it is in, but intel, plan, and execute, right?
Yep.
And that they say, like, this needs to be, it's important that this loop happens for every player at every level of play. Now, you could argue that that another loop would be the matchmaker, but there I would argue it doesn't necessarily have to function the same, right? And we can definitely talk about that. Now, the arguments need to be seen in the context of what kind of a change it is that we're discussing. And I think at this formula that they've given us, you could almost discuss this, discuss every single balance change or everything you could think of, throwing into this formula, into this mental framework, and explain changes by that. And if you want to argue against them, you should be using this mental framework to discredit their points, because that is the framework.
Because you're speaking their language.
It gives you a frame for discourse as well. Absolutely.
So, just to put a bow on it, I think it's a really cool process. There's nothing fundamentally groundbreaking to me here. Like, there's nothing where I read it and say, like, this surprises me that they think this way. It is cool to see it compartmentalized that way, because, like, of course we think that way, but maybe sometimes it's not as clear. Like, for instance, especially the definitions of like the upper bounds, like overall agents, you could say like Sage is busted, or you could say Race is strong on splits, and like how it gets more granular in these discussions. That is cool. Like just to see that laid out. And I think generally as a concept piece, not only is it kind of cool to see that mental framework, and I'm sure it had to be dumped down a bunch, and they gave some anecdotes to illustrate what's going on, but it also gives you an idea maybe where you would field the response to, or you could even say, okay, let's actually put this up to some scrutiny and see where this mental model breaks and where they will have to expand their scope of thinking in order to get there. And I see myself actually, like, whenever there's a disagreeable thing where it's like impulsively I'm thinking, okay, this is dumb, I'll probably find this article again and just think through why would they have done something like that, right? So in that part, like, I also haven't seen anything like this from a game developer.
Yeah, this is newer.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like, these concepts aren't new, and there's nothing, as you said, there's nothing like groundbreaking in the logic behind it, but, or I would even say unintuitive about it. It's like, it feels very intuitive, like, yeah, of course that's how you design it, but when it's not out there for you to actually like read, it's
always left
basically
up to...
It's easier to understand after it's been published, even if it feels kind of like, well, why did you publish that? Of course that's how you're doing it, or whatever. Let's kind of just go through the article, because I think this is important enough to spend a little bit of time on, because we talk about balance patches and balance almost every week, and so this is important, I think, for anybody viewing or listening to kind of go along with us. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the balance do's and don'ts. Right after I mute my other computer. There we go. Balance do's and don'ts. Basically, so here's what it says. Game balance is something that every player feels and may have some opinions about. Okay. The experience all of you have and feel shape your perceptions of the game. Your perception is your truth. It's our job to provide an experience that is fair to every player. With that being said, here's what we will and won't do. We will prioritize audiences that we think take the game in the right direction in its current state. We'll have to make trade-offs with which audience we're aiming to balance for. It won't be every player. The right direction is, I think, super vague,
very
right?
nebulous.
Yeah, it's like, and there's something, I think it was Fish Ghost who said in chat, he goes, I have no idea what we won't seek a perfect 50-50 balance means. It is very vague in the sense of what's the right direction?
Yeah.
Is the right direction big tournaments, Overwatch League style buy-ins for leagues, or is it growing your player base, or average consumer satisfaction?
Yeah, I think that's what it means, like, to find the perfect middle ground. And it's like, okay, let me give you a metaphor, and I hope it's not too far away, but there's like a distinct difference in music between human placed like beats and whatnot and bops, and ones that you just like, where you go copy paste and now it's rhythmic always, and you actually look at the differences.
Yeah, quantized.
Right? Yeah. And like, for instance, one of my favorite producers, whose name escapes me, Burial, he does everything by hand. And it's very like, it kind of gives that a very recognizable tone because of that, because it's not perfect, right? So of course balance shouldn't be every character has 50% win rate, right? Like, that might not even be desirable, and they kind of go into that further down, because like, maybe a character that wins 51% of the time but is still, everyone agrees, is fun to play or fun to play against, is not inherently a problem. That character is just going to be played a lot, right? So, or it's also the pick rate. If a character or an agent has 100% pick rate, that's not a problem.
Not
as long as he's fun, fun to play against or play with. Yep. Or also if he
doesn't
contains...
keep you from doing certain things with other characters that are fun to play or beneficial.
Yeah. Fun to play, rewarding to play, good esports element, that type of stuff. And I think to a degree, I don't think we have a really lame character yet in Valorant.
You have lame moments. You have very, very lame moments.
Yeah. I will say that, for instance, Viper having a ridiculously high win rate would kind of, not be that fun because she's not that fun to play, in my opinion. Right? And I feel in the fan base.
Subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective, but like if I tap into the zeitgeist, I think that is
I think most people would agree.
People would agree. So in that regard, like I think that's what it means, that true balance is not maybe not desirable. And also the ebb and flow of things, like 50-50 means there's no variation and you never have novelty in the system. Right? You maybe want to balance around ebb and flows.
Yep. You just don't want to make the flows too big. And I think they go into that a little
too
bit.
long.
Yeah.
As we know.
I think it's not making the mistake of equating true balance with fairness or vice versa. A game can be unbalanced but be fair.
Yep.
And a game can be balanced but unfair. Or unfun. The second point that they kind of make here is that, and it kind of bleeds right into this, is we won't make every player happy with their choices. Sometimes we need to make or not make changes that go against what our players want for the greater game. And we know the size of the platform of a content creator can really create these echo chambers of dissent and echo chambers of the opposite of dissent, whatever that term is. Oh my God, I can't think of it. So, but in the end, the end goal is, it's impossible. It's impossible to make everybody happy, right?
Yeah, of course.
Just on the face of it, but recognizing it at the outfront or at the beginning and just being like, we can't and we won't make everybody happy with this, but we.
I think this is like my big problem, and this might just be like a very general statement throughout the whole thing, is that they want to make it clear that we can't do everything for everyone, so we have to kind of decide what's fair. What they don't do, and again, like I'm just skimming through this now, is decide what is fair. They don't really define what is fair.
They don't.
Which is difficult to even define.
Yeah.
So like I like the transparency. I like the intention, I think. But I think this just opens up a lot of discussion, let's say.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if these statements are necessarily all towards fairness. Because, okay, I'll give you an example of a feature. I think it's much more towards attracting audiences that are desirable. So you probably have no issue with an audience that very much likes voice commands, correct? Like there's like, what is the negative that could potentially, for instance,
are you talking about like voice comms?
No, like voice commands. Like, okay, go here. Here's an enemy.
Oh, so like pinging kind of
feature in itself.
Okay, sure.
That pinging feature, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's maybe someone could be a spammer, but spamming is very easy to shut down. So there's no problem there. So there's almost no downside introducing such a voice feature. Yep. There's a big upside not doing that, or saying we categorically don't do that and we want everyone to talk. We know this is a bad idea. And it will attract it will cause an effect where people that like interact in voice chats and will be put down for how they sound, like how that will then turn them away from the game.
Sure.
Right? So by not having this type of feature in there, that some people might find, so why do we have this? We have voice. I want my teammates to communicate with voice. That invites an audience or attracts an audience that, as a net experience, probably makes for a more toxic community. I would think. Totally, like no empirical data on this, but just like thinking.
I think I would agree. It's difficult to police what is said in voice chat and have kind of receipts on that, unless everything's just being recorded, which again, I'm still kind of scratching my head now that I think about it. Like, okay, well, how do you really know if somebody's being toxic in voice if you don't record it? As like, if I'm an arbiter, I'm looking at a case and I say, you have 25 reports against you for being toxic, but I don't see anything in the chat, so it must be in the voice chat, but I just don't have the voice chats to be able to ban you. I would assume that
they generally
something's cached.
The cache, voice chats, and there's also just recognition. I mean, your phone, your phone tells you what you're saying, right? Like,
I would hope that there's some way to be able to find that, so it isn't just like you have lots of like. It's a big topic.
I think what would be really interesting is how much of that is actually automated and how much of that is actually like.
I'd be interested in that. I'd be genuinely like, that's a question that I don't think anybody's really addressed. And if Riot's going to come out and talk about their balanced philosophy, it'd be interesting to see how they're handling, dealing with reports and how that actually works, because it just seems like magic. You see something on your timeline on Twitter. It's just like, hey, this guy got banned. Great job. It's like, well, what went into that? Did you actually have to go through? Did a person actually listen to these people say like really messed up stuff, or did a machine do it? Or was it just kind of vote by committee? You have lots of strikes, therefore you're banned. Like it genuinely be kind of interesting.
There's also no reason to make that public. Like, you don't want to make that public because then it becomes gameable for toxic elements, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, in general, like
content,
every game does this.
We need our we need to be able to talk about it for the content.
Selfish me is interested in that, but yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, but like I think if it's still hard to understand what that line means, the best metaphor I could find is how a Twitch streamer moderates his chat and what is fine for them to do in there. And if the Twitch streamer says, okay, these words are banned or these types of topics are banned, and therefore these people that have that interest go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that same is true for games. Like, this is wanted here, this is not wanted. This is the type of feature we want this to be. Like, do we want it to be a tactical shooter? We're attracting a tactical audience. Do we want this to be an aim shooter? We're removing utility and making it more about dry peeking or whatever it is, right? Like, so it's not about maximizing the happiness or the satisfaction or the good feel hormones for everyone of the fan base that is currently playing the game. It is looking towards the desirable outcomes. Now, to me, it's like just like the I'm sure they have some empirical evidence, and there's also the game design philosophy. But I caution for there to be a very, like, these systems are so unbelievably complex that you can very easily mess up that ecosystem by saying, okay, this feature should do this, and then it actually down the line attracts a completely different demographic because of that. Yeah. And that might be positive and negative both, right?
Sure. Yeah. Good discussion. Let's go on to the next one. This one I think was kind of, it's not surprising, but they had to say it, right? We'll rely on human judgment to contextualize game data. We won't be entirely data driven. And we see that, and that's good to say that, because number one, we have seen community members in the past for other games come with a completely data-driven rebuttal for a game feature or whatever else, and be like, through 500 games, I looked at how many quitters there were, and this is how many we found, and therefore it's a representative sample size, and you need to punish quitters more. Example off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But there's the recognition that we have this data, and then as a team we create solutions based on the data, but not only based on the data. So
the one, okay, here's one surprising fact, and I think people from Overwatch would tell you that this is true. So about the percentages specifically, and maybe, like, I don't think we're going to move like through all points, so I'll just pick out this very specific example because it fits here. So they looked at the Raze win rate, and in like her match win rate was as high as 51%, and if the opponent didn't pick race, it was as high as 53.5%. Now the surprising thing is here, they say we quickly realized that power in our game was in the measure of 0.1% rather than 1%. I think everyone that has ever looked at any data from Overwatch will tell you that that was very likely to happen, that the order of magnitude where those issues express themselves are going to be exactly that. Because, for instance, with Winston's lab, we had the very same problem, right? Yep. Now, 53.5% still doesn't necessarily have to mean that you necessarily have to fix something, but
it's high.
There is a threshold. Most definitely there's a number where it's unarguable. And that number is most definitely below 60%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, well, okay. So here's a fun example. What's your number? If you're making a game and you need to balance something and you see a number, what's the cap? Game. Just hypothetically, you're designing Valorant. What's the cap? How high do you go?
So I would have to solve that mathematically a little bit, because you got to see like
gut,
each.
Man. Just go with your gut.
Each hero has 10% theoretical impact on each given game, because it's 10 heroes divided by 100% divided by 10.
I guess.
So then 10% average impact should come from a singular hero, and like if they can move the needle like for their individual. And these are non-equivalent. If the math nerds are going at me, I know this is like, now I'm feeling based.
How many inches are in a mile? How many? That's what I feel like we're doing. How many inches? Yeah. How's that going to help you? I will convert it and then divide.
Yeah. So basically, I think 53 is already pretty high.
Without
like 53 is high. But not like dangerous.
High.
Yeah.
I think 54.
I'd say 55.
54 for me.
Yeah. 55. Anything 55 and over.
I didn't need to do any math.
It's like, okay, we need to look at you.
When I looked at CypherCame data, sometimes I looked at 51% funny, where I thought, especially, it's also of course down to the amount of matches being played, and especially how many mirrors happen, and that all needs to be considered. I think blanket statements here probably get us bad comments of math nerds. But
it's just like a general feeling. This is the contextualization of data. Where does something become there? And yeah, of course, we're going off the cup. And honestly, I think that math nerds like get it. And if they don't get it,
what is surprising though,
and nothing else,
is that they were surprised. Or it seems like in their wording that they were surprised that the tenths of percentages were how they were going to communicate power. Yeah. When it feels like most games are like that. Yeah, but most games aren't going to swing in entire percentages in terms of how things are played. And especially in your other department in League of Legends, I feel like it's very much about tenths of percentages.
There it is fundamentally different in the sense that you have way fewer that you don't have mirror matches.
I agree.
You
like
never
in
do.
the specifics, there's a lot different when comparing these, but just in maybe I'm the idiot, but it seems like it's a very it most definitely is. It seems very common that this is the case in most cases, regardless of genre, regardless of specifics.
To get it a magnitude wrong is usually very surprising. Yeah, I agree.
Maybe that's I don't know. It was interesting to see that they thought otherwise. I was like, really? Huh.
I mean, I think it kind of comes down to like there's obviously going to be heroes that are stronger and weaker, but you don't think of them like having meaningful percentages on the entire team overall, right? Like the idea should be is like, sure, you can have somebody with like a personal win rate of 60, but the team win rate, everything else, the heroes in a way balance themselves out based on who you're facing and who's on your team, right? So you kind of have this like ability to maybe like, I think broaden that a little bit. I think tens of percents is a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if they looked at like 60-40 to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's dangerous.
So here's the reason why that was never going to be the case. In Overwatch, like the percentages of when a hero is overpowered are not meaningfully different. Like 53.5% is almost a ridiculous hero in Overwatch, right? Now, I think that number must mean it's more ridiculous in Valorant for the simple reason that a hero's kit is way less of a power share than it is in Overwatch. In Overwatch, your hero kit is basically everything in terms of balance. In Valorant, like the ability, the gunplay is all the same for every character. For their abilities to determine the win rate by such a high percentage. Like now I'm talking myself into 51% is already, guys.
Yeah, it's high.
Red alert. Like, because like, of course, like the power level that comes from individual abilities, what is it? Maybe like 30% of an individual hero's power, where it's like, I think, and the rest is gunplay.
I think you'll talk yourself into anything over 51% in any game if you start thinking about it like that. If I have all the data in this perfect vacuum, like pretend that it was impossible for you to collect data. You couldn't collect it by yourself. You couldn't collect it, in your sheets, and it wasn't something that was presented to you through something like CypherCam or the Valorant dev team. It's just physically impossible. You can't even remember what it feels like match to match. 51% is not a meaningful percentage.
Yeah. I mean, okay. If I play 100 games and on race and I win one more, I'm not noticing. If I play against race 100 games, I'm losing one more. That's not meaningful.
No.
But the abuse that like Race has to have given me in the time for her to, on average, win one more match across the entire player base is probably pretty considerable, considering everyone's really still just clicking heads and not using their abilities to the fullest amount, while Raze can get easy value to the point where it outweighs gunplay so much, or makes it so much more distinct as a feature, that this impacts percentages to that degree.
You're not going to like this argument, so I don't even know how I'm going to say it, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. But there's also the feeling of if it gives you wins, if a hero gives you wins, that in actual data it doesn't. For example, Widowmaker in Overwatch.
Yeah.
I'm carrying. Every time we win, it feels like 5 wins because I carried on Widowmaker and we won. Even though I have a 30% win rate, it might feel every win might weight in my head. Like you might as well give it a 2x multiplier. Like we'll call it the Widowmaker syndrome, right? Where
so true, yeah.
Yeah, so there is this aspect of, yes, you're right. In a pure mathematical behind the scenes, beyond the veil, whatever it is, thing where mathematically you get one extra win and you're not going to notice that. But there's also the imagine if you can make that feeling for multiple characters that you enjoy playing enough that losing doesn't feel as bad as winning feels good.
Yeah. And here's a perfect example from Overwatch where even the best minds in the game had a wrong intuitive feel what is powerful. So back in the day when we had the Moth meta,
and they're not the best game.
For the Valorant fans, it's basically in Overwatch we have a hero called Mercy, and she's like a healer type, and she has the ability to resurrect, much like Sage does. But it's not an ultimate; it's like a 30-second cooldown. Now, we found out pretty early in Overwatch that first kills are tremendously important to winning fights. So logically, if you could resurrect someone, then that advantage would go away. So you would think that in a fight where one team has Mercy, gets the first pick on them, and Mercy got a res off, that advantage would be negated. Well, that was the feeling also that even the highest pro players had. Turns out, if you get a first pick, even without a Mercy, the power of her kit was balanced in a way where you were still losing just as many fights by conceding that first kill against the Mercy comp than against none. So by her having to use that res, it still gave you an advantage in momentum and whatnot, right? So it felt like a super powerful ability, but really wasn't statistically, right? So, and that is the brightest minds in the game expressing this feeling. So what are we balancing for then? Well, we're balancing like that. She still does that, but she's not the dominant meta force, and we didn't want her to be, right? Like at the highest level for reasons like this. So now we have a balanced state where she's rarely played, and the same is still true for her balance. It just doesn't feel as oppressive.
Yep. And that's, again, that comes back to the nebulous, fair, healthy, overpowered kind of definition. Is like, okay,
right direction.
Yeah, what does right direction mean? It's not an easy question to answer, but I kind of would like that to be in this article rather than something else. I'd like their interpretation of what they're looking for, not just fair. What is fair? What's fair to me isn't fair to you.
Yeah.
What's fair to me is I click on their head, they die. It feels very unfair when they get back up when Sage reses them. That feels unfair to me. So how are you going to address that? Or is that unfair in your definition? I that's what I want. That's what I kind of was looking for in this, and it didn't give me that.
Yeah.
I think it's
And
tough.
it gave me a lot of insight.
It's
You
also
don't want to give those definitions either, right?
Probably not.
well, it's probably like an ever changing, ever moving thing, and you also
Possibly.
have like, the right it's a step in the right direction can often be relatively obvious, whereas the end goal of where that direction ends up can be kind of nebulous.
Sure.
Whether, it's a step in the right direction to be able to have a tier 1 esport league. But saying we want to have a tier 1 esport league is it's a big leap, and it's a lot of variables to it. So I would like something. I don't expect them to be like, here's what success or here's what the right direction is and like specifics. But I also wanted something more than right direction.
Yeah.
Give me like, we want to build a platform for esports that, I don't even think it would go this specific, but be a top 5 game on streaming platforms.
Yeah. But by the way, I remembered a discussion that I think the Platchat podcast had Pansy on.
Yeah.
And they were discussing how ridiculously overpowered or not strong. They didn't say overpowered, but strong the res for Sage is. Now, real quick for everyone listening, what are the most powerful ultimates in the game? When you use them, what is the highest win percentage swing? So which ultimate that you use makes you win the most rounds?
I mean,
you know the answer.
I know
right?
the answer. It's Cypher.
Yeah. It's Cypher. Who's the second?
I think, again, this isn't like, I think I'm cooking the books here because we've had
Let's
this
ask
discussion
John
before.
because John doesn't know.
Yeah.
What's the second most?
John
The second
doesn't
one,
know.
even I'm still scratching my head.
Run it back.
Run it back. It's run it back.
That was.
But does it feel like it's run it back?
I don't play Phoenix.
I think I could justify it, but it doesn't
it
feel
makes
that way.
sense.
No.
It gives you the basically the opportunity to 2v1 essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So like in a vacuum, logically it makes sense, which is why I used it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the old Omen ultimate. How much did you think the old Omen ultimate for just the average player? How much did that contribute to you winning the round? The ability to teleport, and then you had that shaman type of thing, and had how much did that help you?
Relatively little.
I'd say a little, not much.
It hurt you.
Yeah.
You lost more rounds by using it.
You lost more rounds by
it's
using
just
it.
basically it's like, hey, get me over here by myself.
Yeah.
Because average player plays, of course, probably not as adept. The sound cue and the way the
really
ultimate was,
strong,
which
really.
also enacted in how that was enacted early. Like now it's a better ultimate, I think. Legitimately.
Yeah. I mean, you can. Yeah. you can cancel it.
Yeah, the canceling is a very big thing that helps you survive in those things, in those situations, and also make smart plays, right?
Yep.
So but like if you guys want to check it out, I have an article on GG Recon. Look for best Valorant Ultimate, and you will probably find that on Google, right? Just look through the top 11 there, the ultimates. I think Reyna is not in there yet, but
I don't think she will be.
Ask yourself if that lines up with your feeling of how strong these ultimates are. And I promise you there will be surprises in there where you're like, really? That ultimate is this good? Like, of course, some stuff like Viper being an okay ult, not the best, but an okay ult is pretty obvious.
I'd imagine Raze probably has a high percentage of rounds won ults.
Yeah.
Like the Cypher ult is the least fun ult that I can think of off the top of my head to do.
Sure.
Because it's like I don't get to run around with a rocket launcher, or I don't get to flank an enemy team, or I don't get to blow up a point with orbital strike.
Or it's also very hard to do it.
Yeah, the window of use is very small.
I mean, it's very res-like, right? In the sense that basically you're just putting res, you're adding res, but instead of res, you're getting information about all the
and the body's timed. You don't just get to res whenever.
Is huge. Yeah. Can't just like run back to the corpse that just happened like 30 seconds ago. You gotta be in that, I believe, within 15 seconds. So the application time, you gotta be in that position. Like the range is limited. It's also probably the least used ult in the game, just from a numbers. I would think so. Like it also needs 7 charge, right?
Something.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. But that's another question, like frequency of use, for instance, like applicability and that type of thing. And once again, like, what's a for instance, running back doesn't feel that cheap, right?
No, feels fair enough. You're asking the player to have 2 fundamental checks of gunplay, right? Like it's you're asking them to shoot the guy twice.
Yeah.
It's not cheap,
right?
It's not.
You have the flame on the ground. You can and there's the little window where you can catch him out if the guy misused it. That's all fine and dandy. Like that's a 7% or 7.5% win rate boost, which is large. Like Rez, for instance, has like 5% or something.
Sure.
That doesn't feel that cheap, right? Yep. So that's
and
good
then
game design. Then
you go to defuse a bomb, and then an orbital strike gets called on your head, and well, there's that. I guess we just lose.
Yeah.
Woo. Yep. And it's always going to be that way. It's not like a death knell for the game just because you have a couple lame mechanics. You know, like, wow, I'd like to go defuse this bomb, but now there's a wall in my way. That kind of feels lame. Or I'd like to defuse the bomb, but now Sova's just pelting me with arrows across the map. Feels kind of lame.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of other instances that don't feel lame. It's just those which people harp on a lot. And it's like,
it's really fun to be on the other side of that, right? So like it kind of balances out. Like it's really fun to really piss that guy off with my Sage Wall. It's really fun to snipe with the Sova across the map.
See, I like that one. I like that one a lot because it actually asks you multiple times to like be accurate and like know where you're coming from and know where the bomb is. Like there's a lot of checks there rather than like, wow, I'm going to press Q with Brimstone. I'm going to select the bomb and then I'm going to orbital strike.
You don't have to call me out like that, dude, on the show.
I mean, I
think
everybody's done it. It's less fun even as the user. It's just like, I didn't really do anything.
It's fun for me.
I guess. I mean, again, it's complete. A lot of this discussion is very subjective, where it's just like, what is fun, what is fair, what is healthy, what is overpowered. Like, we have to give that definition. And again, maybe it's not the right time, maybe it's not right ever to give that definition because of whatever reason. But yeah, I don't know. I think the article's fine. I think it's interesting to get some insight into how the game is going to be developed. I agree. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot. I think it's good.
It's better than going, I wonder what their goals are. Like, I wonder what criteria that they're trying to use. And even if it isn't as specific as we would want for obvious reasons, it's still
Yeah.
it's still nice to be able to have something. And now in the future for
sure.
the show, we can actually frame our conversations in a very specific way. A balance change
I would
comes
like
out,
to,
and we'd
yeah.
be able to be like, you know, does this achieve
where
this
does this
goal?
fit?
Does this achieve
Yeah.
this goal? Where is this in the tax cycle?
Yep.
Definitely check out the blog post. I think it was really interesting. We're not going to spend any more time on it though, because we have patch notes to go through.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, okay, let's see how can this be applied when looking
Let's
at the
apply
strategy.
it.
It's also the best Valorant tournament
Yes.
ever.
We're not
Which
going
we'll
to
get to.
spend. We're not going to spend a lot on this. I'm going to think maybe
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to go 15 minutes through this patch
Okay.
max. We're at 45 minutes for the show, so that'll be good. All right, new patch is live. Ranked is live. Hey, woo! Ranked is live. Yay! So Ranked is live, and with it we got some patches, and let's go through the hero ones first. Toxic screen for Viper now burns through walls, placing emitters at all valid locations over its length. So there's no more of those weird like holes in the wall when it gets near, or in the screen when it gets near a wall.
Sweet.
Snakebite takes damage taking damage will make a player fragile for a short time, and fragile is what we call Yiska, and is a debuff that doubles damage taken. So,
Total damage is unchanged. The damage is lowered, but fragile increases. It all evens out. See, I have a problem with this. Why do we need to make things more convoluted? I really don't like it. I'm not gonna lie. Not my favorite change ever. Probably my least favorite. I don't like adding in more status effects to a game that really doesn't need it. It also, again, like I could probably test this, and I just haven't. What does it mean by double damage is taken? Am I taking double damage from a gun, or am I just taking double damage from snakebite? I would imagine it's probably just snakebite, but don't know because it doesn't tell me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the direction of making abilities do or how do I put this? They're not, again, it's not doing more damage, but it's doing more damage. I don't know. I just don't like it. It feels
so I believe how it works is when you walk on snakebite, as soon as you take damage, you become fragile, and once you are fragile, any damage you take from any source is double.
Yeah, I don't like that. I hate that. I hate that a lot. I think that it's going away. This is like a road sign. It's not a complete like veering. It's not like a complete U-turn away from what the game kind of like is wanting to be. And that like, again, like making fundamental gunplay the core of the game. When you have things like this is a road sign for me saying abilities are going to do damage, guys. And that's just something we're going to have to deal with. So if that's what you want, here's a road sign. Here's a red flag. If this is not what you're looking for, maybe not the game for you. I'm okay with it. I really don't mind. It's not really going to impact me, but I can see and I can hear in my head a lot of people going, well, I want a tactical shooter, and this is not tactical. Can you imagine if CS had like a molly that was like, well, you could get shot extra here. Like you're going to take more damage through wall bangs. You're going to get killed faster. Like it's not there. And I don't like this. I mean,
so
not a fan.
The concept behind this is when you would get, if I understand it correctly, is when you walked into snakebite or whatever, you start, taking this like ticking damage or whatever. And so teams just either back off or run through it. And they basically have little to no actual impact on what actually
it's
happens.
just a deterrent.
So they're like, hey, if you decide to push through here, you're going to be taking double damage while you're in that pool. And I don't know how long fragile stays, and I don't know if it stays beyond going to snakebite. I didn't get to test these, so
those are all it gets worse with the details, but even still,
I'm just trying to figure out what your issue with it is, because Is there
You think
meaningful
that punishes
difference?
people too hard for pushing?
I think it's just away from what
I feel like it's weaker. Depending
feel
on
like
how
it's
long
weaker.
the lingering process lasts.
If it's doing the same damage, but doubles the damage from any source if you touch it, in what way is it
still
weaker?
doing the decay thing that goes down?
Yeah.
Yes, but it's
It does
doing,
damage.
Okay, so it's on top.
Yeah.
I
It's
thought
doing
it
no, so
was
it's doing half
instead
the
of.
decay damage, but when you're fragile, it doubles. So it does the same decay
Yeah.
damage.
It says the same
Oh.
amount of damage, but now you
Oh.
have this added effect of now you just take more damage from any source.
Okay. And when does the fragile thing apply? In every
Once
zone?
you touch Snakebite.
Yeah, as soon as
just
you,
snakebite, not
Yeah.
Yes,
not everything.
just Snakebite,
Snakebite.
not the entire poison cloud, just Snakebite. That's where I go, I don't like this. I don't like it. I think we have already, I'm getting a lot of
put it on my
feedback outside of
experimental card.
esports. Yeah, I think that's
PT
fine. I
PTR
really
this. I'm fine. Yeah.
I like the I like the idea. I think it's fun for people to say like, oh wow, Snakefight feels more impactful now. But I think there's more interesting in tactical, and I hate that term because it feels so cliche and cheesy, but I think there are better ways to make Snakebite a fun ability and a more interesting ability than just giving it a status effect and then increasing the damage taken. It feels very bland.
I think that this is not the last time we're going to see Fragile.
I would hope not, but
So this seems like something that's a core mechanic that's going to be introduced later on, either through a different hero or a map.
I said the
or
same
gun
thing.
or ability.
Oh, I hope not gun. Oh, don't
Fragile
put
gun.
that evil on me.
You get like
Don't
this
put
little,
that evil on me,
you get
Ricky
this
Bobby.
little May gun where it doesn't do any
Don't
damage,
do
but
it.
it makes them fragile.
Don't say that.
Like weakens
You
their
better
armor.
knock on wood.
Oh man,
I need to
dude,
burn some
I get
sage
it.
and
I
cleanse
figured it
this
out.
place.
I figured it out.
I said the same thing, completely anecdotal. I said the same thing when Ornn was released in League of Legends with a very similar kind of concept. I think it's also called Fragile, where I was like, okay, I kind of like this if we're going to continue designing around it and using it. I don't believe that's ever happened. So like this could just be a one and done, like something you're just going to have to remember and realize. The new players are just going to be like, well, why though? Why do I take more damage here but not here? It's like, well, that's just what she does. It's like, okay, that's what I'm worried about is this doesn't kind of fit the game. And if it does, then maybe it was packaged the wrong way. And I worry about status effects in the future. Because if we're getting one, that opens the door for many. And again, it's a very like slippery slope argument, but it's a concern because you don't need a ton of status effects in this game.
I want to say one thing because I know Yiska, you're about to say something, but Viper is classified as a controller. And if we
I think there are better ways to design her to be a controller.
Sure, fine, of course. But if we use the blog post we just discussed, and we're under the assumption that Viper is not very good at controlling, and a big part of that is because Snakebite is really inconsequential.
Mm-hmm.
This does address it.
It certainly does. I just think it does in the wrong way. Personally,
in the right way, but too far, or in the wrong direction.
Sure.
So,
but it doesn't make her a worse controller.
No, it makes her probably a much better controller. I just don't like the direction that they're taking her.
Sure.
The thing is, like, I think the alternative, for instance, would be way worse in saying let's increase the damage of Snakebite, right?
Sure.
Like, just don't have fragile
like that either,
and then you like fire that thing into the corner, and if someone doesn't immediately jump out, it's over, right?
Yep.
Now it's like you fire that into the corner, and then the guy has, because of Pika's advantage, the possibility of trading you effectively. Yep. Now if they are fragile, you should be winning that duel given equal, or more often than not, depending on like Pika's advantage is still a big thing, blah blah blah,
yeah.
right? But I think the fact that there is an aim component where you gotta hit is probably preferable to increasing the damage or the size of that AoE effect. And it's hard to come up with a solution that like this incorporates aim, right? If your argument is towards general status effects where you're like, oh yeah, this guy just put rend on me, so my sage can't heal me all around. Like that type of stuff, I'm also not a fan of. Like, just
And again,
like,
it's just a red flag. I'm not saying that this is like a nail in the coffin for the game. Like this is how they're designing, yada yada. This is just my perspective. This is what I'm seeing. I hope I don't see more of this. I think people aren't going to enjoy this. I think people, I can, is as boring as kind of inconsequential as it is. I think you could take Snakebite and either increase its projectile speed, add some sort of like nuanced effect to it to get to places that you wouldn't normally be able to do with a molly, with something else. Like give it an interesting attribute to how it's applied rather than complicating it. Obviously, like changing its projectile speed or adding some sort of bounce mechanic to it, like that obviously makes it complicated, but it's intuitive, right? I don't have to go through and read like a manual to figure out what fragile is. And obviously that's not the case. I'm being hyperbolic. I just hope that this isn't continued. I hope that Breach doesn't somehow get this in the future where it's like, well, Breach is stun now adds fragile, or like Breach is stun now adds rend, where you take 50% less healing in cases and on days that end in Y. It's like, why though? Why do we need all of these? I just want to shoot people in the face and then they die.
Yeah, as a precedent,
let's not complicate
I understand the point. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Like it's always better. And maybe you can, I haven't played with that yet. Maybe you can sort of like make that more obvious in terms of like brittling down the armor and therefore having like a good status effect representation as a graphic or whatever. I also think like having everything mechanically obvious and just looking at that is desirable. It's probably
clarity.
Very hard to have a wide variety of these things where it doesn't feel same all the time, right?
Yeah. So because obviously you don't want that. You want people to play the game. You want people to feel unique, or the agents to feel unique. And this obviously makes her feel unique. She's obviously the only agent that can apply fragility to the enemy. But it's also, I mean, just looking at the definition in the patch notes, it makes a player. So your teammates could get fragile. Not fun. Not super fun to deal with. Granted, there's plenty of other abilities that do similar things and affect the teammates in similar ways. So it kind of is a flippant argument, but yeah, I don't know. As a precedent, I'm not thrilled. I think I'd like more abilities to do less damage and give more utility. It definitely, to John's point, makes her a stronger controller 100%. But I'm just not happy with the direction. Rant over.
Okay, last one is Poison Orb activation. Is cooldown is increased from 0.5 seconds to 6 seconds.
Sweet.
So
like that.
Yeah, a little spammy, eh?
I mean, she needed help. Like, the fact that we didn't get any balance changes almost had me think she was going to get a rework, and it's a soft one that we get here with the fragile and everything, right? I think this is like a last ditch effort to make her work, and if she doesn't, like, it's over at that point.
She's getting canned. She's getting redone. I think she needs it. I think this won't change much. I think a lot of her problems still are very apparent, where it's like you commit, and that's what you get. You commit to one side, or you just don't use your ability. Like there are going to be, and again, like these are all vacuous and very general, but if I fake a site and get the Viper to use her smoke screen and get her to see where she's placed her smoke grenade and to see where she commits her curtain, I can just go to the other site and you just don't have a character now. Done.
Yeah.
Feels bad. Not what's happening. Far from the case in many instances, but the fact that that's just like step number one. It's like, that shouldn't probably be the case. It feels very, very boring to be able to put something down and then it just be useless.
Yeah, and it's also for those that like say, well, isn't every ability just gone after they use that? Yeah, but it's like other abilities, their power level is baked into that.
Yes.
So like throwing a flash that doesn't hit doesn't feel as problematic as like an ability that's clearly used to be reusable or intended to be reusable, and then it doesn't work. So to a degree, maybe there's something like picking up. I don't know if that's a good thing. Like even the thing is, it is not that bad on offense, right? Like it's pretty okay.
She has uses. It's just like, why wouldn't she use somebody else?
True.
You know what I mean? That's the problem, is that she she
get
feels
it.
unique.
You hate Viper. We get it.
Yeah, I hate her.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I think maybe it's not over. Maybe this is actually a saving grace. We will see.
Maybe. I'd like her to get like a relook at like fundamentally rather than like trying to add on top of her. Because I think the more you add on top of her, she's gonna be like, and I hate to always compare everything to Overwatch. I think she's gonna be like a Sombra. She's gonna be like a Reaper, where like she's gonna keep getting changes until she sees play, and then people are gonna be like, oh, we went way too far with this. Like she's now just like very, very good. So it's like, I think you need to just re-look at how and what you wanted to do with her and figure out, and again, figure it out forehead. What's really wrong with the kit instead of adding on top.
Yep. There's some other like quality of life things here, small balance changes. The one thing is that there is an early surrender option now. So
Sweet. Like that.
No more sitting through 13 ones or 12 ones and being like, this sucks.
Two of my
Get me
teammates
out.
quit. I'd like to leave, please.
Yep. So other than that, though, I don't think that there's a ton more that we need to talk about right now. And I think we should probably talk about the T1 and Nerd Street Gamer Showdown. Let's go into some esports. What?
You mad?
Tell me that doesn't just get you a little bit amped.
I'm concerned for the people at the club when you dance like that.
Every pit's a mosh pit.
You should know. You should know. I don't go to clubs. Okay, they don't let me in. Like, hey, can I come? They're like, no.
Did you dance at your marriage?
I dance every day in my marriage. No, I did. I'm an okay dancer. Like I'm an okay like non-dancer. Like as a guy who hasn't taken classes and has not like shown any sort of like wanting to be. I know enough about music to where I'm at least like moving in the right directions at the right time.
Yeah. Okay. While punching your partner, apparently. Full fist.
we can't joke about that right now. Yeah. But
just throwing elbows.
Yes, Katie has some many great tips for me, but when it gets to the Valorant soundtrack, she can't hold me back.
Get out the way.
She can't control me. It's a mosh pit song. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do during a song like that? Yiska, show me.
Sit in your chair and tap your foot.
Show me how you would 5-second dance.
You ready?
To that. I'll play it again. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. No, that's not. It's not.
Drinking hands, stand in the club, just like, yeah.
That's why I'm the married. That's why I'm the married one here. You guys,
can we
you
go
guys
to
gotta
a
get
quiet
out
place,
there
please?
a little bit. You just gotta.
So when are we going to the library, folks? Anybody? Any takers? Any takers?
Exude the confidence. It's not the moves that matter. It's the confidence to move.
That's true.
That matters.
That is very true.
And that is your daily or weekly lesson.
Wisdom. Words to live by.
In dating in clubs. Anyways, all right. That was
how sick would it have been if I just like stood up and had a perfect shuffle just now?
Yeah.
That would have been sick, right?
That would have been great. I mean, I think you would surprise you. I feel like you'd be someone who'd surprise me and be like, yeah, I've been ballroom dancing since I was 9.
No, actually, it's the exact opposite. Like in Germany, when you get your A levels, like your high school diploma or whatever, like you have a big ball, and you're supposed to dance with the other gendered like parent. So boys with moms.
Oh, with your mom.
And we had 20. No, it's not true. I think we had 12 boys. I was the only one whose mom didn't get to dance because I was like, screw all of that. I'm not doing it, dude. And if I ever marry, I'm also not going to do it. And then eventually, at the age of 23, I took the stick out of my butt. And then, right? Like, just like, oh yeah, that was a rough time.
I lucked out. I emceed most of my dances and proms, so I didn't have to like actually dance.
There you go.
So I think my first
Yes.
time like dancing in public sober was my wedding, and that wasn't for long.
Nice.
Before it got very unsober.
But still danced.
Still danced.
Still danced.
We
Just the
did.
sober part corrected itself.
Yep, we did. And we used to. I grew up in a church congregation where dancing wasn't allowed. So
Really?
yeah, no
That
dancing.
hardcore, huh?
Yep. So no dances or anything like that. Like even like there was like kind of a disdain if you were like went to your proms and things and danced there. And
Wow.
it's like, well, screw that. Even in high school, I was like, well, yeah, I'm going
This
to
is
dance.
dumb. Love God and all, but
I'm gonna
need to go cut a rug. Need to go
get some kisses.
break in my dancing shoes.
So,
Get some-
anyways, this is not this is not
Oh man.
this is not about Valorant at all.
No, it's not. But that's okay.
But Valorant Esports is a thing that's happening, and the T1 and Nerd Street
Yes.
Gamers Valorant Showdown begins tomorrow, Saturday, the
Dancing that
27th,
boy.
at 2 p.m. Pacific time. $50,000 prize pool. First place getting $25,000. We've got 16 teams. We're broken up into 4 group stages. Group stages are a best of 3 round robin with the top 2 from each group advancing to the playoffs. And then the playoffs are a double elimination bracket. Winner bracket is best of 3. Loser is best of 1. Grand finals are a best of 5 with winner map advantage. What, Joe?
Teacher, I have a question.
Oh,
Or a
I don't
statement,
have an
rather.
answer.
Well, you don't need one because I have it. It actually starts in 30 minutes.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, the 26th.
Yeah, it starts today.
It starts
So later this
in-
evening, if you're tuning in live,
It starts in
Go watch
30 minutes, not 24
Yes.
hours and 30 minutes.
Yep.
Okay.
call on Yiska. Yiska has a question.
It's the host, man.
Yiska-san? Yiska-kun?
Where's Nerd Street?
Oh, move on. He's hijacking the
How
class.
is that
Between-
like, that's the worst name I've ever seen of a gaming company. Nerd Street Gamer. That's like, okay, you gotta have 2 very gaming words, and then let's flip the coin on the Nerd Street Gamer. Like, I had an aneurysm having to type that. Like, the entire tournament name is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is really obnoxious.
T1
X.
Nerd Street Gamers Showdown.
Yep.
Yeah, that immediately gets stuck in my head. And the only reason that I can remember is because I had to approximately write it 15 times.
I need you to bear in
Mhm.
mind that the original Nerd Street Gamers, I don't know if it still is the way now, it was N3RD.
Oh, we love that. We love random
Leet speak.
Because-
speak in our titles.
Wait, what's the street? The E's in Street 3? Or
Nope.
what?
No, just the
was
E in nerd.
Just the E in nerd.
Yeah, he's molding for the audio listeners.
Listen, I will say this. Probably like 25% of getting a project off the ground is coming up with a name. So it's better to come up with a name than no name. And I feel like this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, we'll fix it later. And then never
I
did.
need a still of that face
never
that
did.
he's doing right now.
Cringe.
Like, how many... Oh, man.
Oh,
In the worlds of the Shopifys and the Tiltifys and the Hulus,
I mean, I don't even hate those.
not anymore, you don't.
Not great, but yeah, they're better than
I was gonna say, like,
N3RD.
what did you think about Uber the first time that you heard Uber?
I didn't really have an opinion. But when I see, owned 3 TV, not a fan already off the bat. I'm like, we need to get rid of the lead speak, guys. I'm going to a zoo.
How will they know
we all
that you're a real game, that your company represents real gamers?
It's tough. It's real tough.
How will they know? How will they know?
Only real
Do you
gamers
speak
shop
lead
at
speak?
Nerd Street.
You must not game.
Guess not.
Must not be a gamer.
Not
must
elite
must be a
Axor.
lamer. Anyways, while Yiska breathes into the microphone, let's talk about. So there's 16 teams. And
16 good teams.
16 good teams, and then we had 5 qualifiers. So prospects.
Yep.
Together we are terrific. I won't say the shortened term of the name.
I didn't get that for the longest time. I bet George still hasn't got.
Yeah, you just turned me on to that one. Oh no, no, I did not.
That's how it. Yeah, that's how they made a long.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep, I
so
gotcha.
Together we are terrific. Echo 8, Spot Up, and then from the community qualifier, Charlotte Phoenix.
I should have clarified. We have 15 good teams in Team Ninja.
Bro, you don't
Put some
14.
respect on my boy Grego.
No. Right? You got Sony
Ninja,
in there.
Ninja can.
Grego.
Sony is, I have a vague understanding of where Sony comes from, and apparently he used to play Warrior in World of Warcraft, and mutual respect there. I'm not sure if slam mechanics and shockwaves translate over to Valorant much, And
sure he's
Grego
playing to try to transfer over his.
Yeah.
Great.
Grego
argument.
could cut a rug as Lucio, but I'm not. I don't know.
Dude, did you see him during Twitch Rivals? No. He was pulling like Brax's pants up at times. Like,
we'll see.
That
Would you like to take a Lord bet on that?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like
no. I'm sure.
I know not going anywhere. I'm saying this guy is now playing with Ninja, so he's going to be on stream in front of many, many eyes. And if he can play like he usually plays, he should have a team by the end of the weekend.
That sounds fantastic. I like that story. They're needing players. If Grego can come up and look good, I think that'd be an interesting fit. I just have to see it. I don't know. Yeah,
okay.
We'll see.
Anyways, but I want to talk about the qualifiers first because those are obviously the least household names of the qualifier teams. What do we need to know about? And
So starting with Together We Are Terrific.
Mm-hmm. You can shorten that if you want.
Nah, we're not though. We're just not. We're just gonna not do that. We're just gonna call them Terrific. Team Terrific. Okay. Has FNS, if you're not familiar with CSGO. Big name, I'd say. Very, very known name. I believe he was a big in-game leader for... I'm getting United just from his profile picture, but I want to... CLG and like Complexity, I want to say?
Yes. Also, probably most well-known for having his life threatened.
True, yes.
Yeah.
With K&G, I believe it was, right?
It was, yeah.
On Immortals, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting esports drama. Look into it if you're not familiar.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. Good team, though. Heard good things. Qualifying. They see if we've got any big names on who their road to qualification is as follows. All aim, no brain. Not super familiar. They beat Spot Up in upper bracket round 2 of qualifier 1. They completely demolished 303 Esports Orange, a name that I see pretty frequently. Haven't caught any of their games, but pretty convincingly lost to Together We Are Terrific. Then they go on to beat Code 7, who's obviously also going to be at this event. And then they 2-0 Prospects. So this is a team that is coming in pretty hot, doing well, has some names that, are familiar to, maybe the CSGO audience. A team that I think with their placing in the groups, which I won't jump the gun on, maybe has a chance to get out. Is coming in hot. I like this team a lot. I think this is the dark horse team. If you're not familiar with Valorant and you're like, who's the team that's the darlings? This might be your darlings.
Can I just tell you? Do you guys know a lot about Calypso?
No.
So Calypso was an alternate or a sub for a team in man, I can't believe in Valhalla.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, I think I told you guys where the tournament organizer kind of got into a little bit of a fight with a player in the Twitch chat because they ended up basically saying that you have to forfeit the map or like we couldn't we held on like 15 minutes and they had a bunch of issues and like we're ready and they're like okay, and this player queued up for an extra game and then basically ran into issues and then you ended up picking a fight in Twitter. That was Calypso. So
interesting. Unlucky.
A little bit hot, but we'll have to see. He ended up, when he did play, he played very well. So, but man, was he was not happy. He was kind of a meanie head. That's all I know about the players on this team, though. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be these are the weeks and the months that we're going to start learning more about these players, especially when we see them play against tier 1 competition. It's going to always be difficult at the start of an esports life cycle to kind of follow all of the weekly cups and the monthlies.
Yeah.
Those are all kind of just results driven for at least me right now. I just literally don't have the time in the day to watch 1,500 games. This weekend, if you have even a slight interest in VALORANT Esports, this is the game to watch. This is like the big marquee tournament that we've gotten so far, with the marquee names and some teams that probably will become marquee names by the end of this year, I'd imagine.
No.
So, this is a big one.
Anything else from these qualifier teams that we should know about before we talk about
I think
teams?
Just generally speaking, I don't want to go too much into like power, but I think Prospects has a decent history, even though history right now in VALORANT feels very
on Prospects.
Yeah, as you could say that. That's true. I think they're again not a team to be slept on. I think a team that could upset. But outside of that, out of the qualifying teams, not a ton of interest, other than maybe talking about Spirit from Overwatch being on the Charlotte Phoenix. Be interested to see how he does, just with the Overwatch bias. But outside of that, yeah, not a ton of hope, I'd say, for these teams. Outside of Together We Are Terrific and possibly Prospects. But, and I was meaning to kind of talk to you guys about this before the show. Some of the last minute invited teams were also trying to qualify. Does that bother you at all? Does that make sense? Like they tried to qualify, they didn't qualify, but they got invited anyways.
Yeah. I understand, but there's not that many teams.
No, there's not. So, and that's why I have to give it to like the TO and be like, well, you kind of have to, but it kind of feels a little like, if I was a team that had to qualify and actually qualified and didn't get invited, I don't know, maybe it's like a guaranteed spot instead of, risking the invitation. It's possible.
Yeah. That thing like with Code 7, that's a little. I thought maybe they could have filled up, but then again, like who else is there?
Yeah.
By the way, I'll also say the another thing that popped up during research. It is insane how many teams there are in this tournament who you'd think are the best teams in the world if you just took a glance at their Wikipedia page. Like how many tournaments they won.
Yep.
The amount of tournaments that allowed all of these 16 teams to dodge each other while still farming prize pool is insane.
Yep.
Like
there's that many.
Even like T1 and TSM have like met each other once, and then they've won everything they participated in. It makes absolutely no sense. So like it is so oversaturated with everything. Like that's the problem, and that makes this event so sweet because you cannot dodge anymore, bro. Like you're not dodging the ignition series. Either you bring it here, or you can go back to farming Go 4 cups for skin. Like
skins and mouse pads. Yeah, it is this again. I can't stress it's enough. This is the big one. This is the one that you're going to want to watch, and obviously this is going to come out later. Tune in, watch the VODs, support this. This is a good sign. But to kind of stay on topic, qualifying teams, Prospects, Together We Are Terrific. Outside of that, best of luck to you.
Best of luck to you. All right. So on top of those qualified teams, I mean, we've got huge organizations. We've got T1, Gen G, Sentinels, Immortals, TSM, Team Ninja, the biggest of them all, Cloud9, Code 7, 100 Thieves, FaZe,
Mm.
Like those are big organizations,
big
all in
names.
one. And Joe and I were talking about this a little bit before the show, before Yiska came in, tropsing in whenever he felt like it. We were talking a little bit about this is kind of like the first time that we've seen in a non like show matchy style thing where they were still just like picking up streamers. This is the first time that we've seen as many like tier 1 organizations in one tournament.
Yeah.
Yep.
With exciting new teams having been built and exciting new prospects coming in. So all of this tournament, like that's the perfect tournament. I agree, like that having like an entirely open-based circuit would take way too long and would also take away from the excitement and would also, I mean, you're not going to do best of 3 series in an open bracket, are you? So would also increase the volatility. This is as good as it gets. They got a bunch of open qualified teams in, basically also extended the amount of slots that were given out to 6 or 7 based on inviting also like the runner-ups, and then invited a lot of established organizations. Yeah, you can think about whatever you want about Ninja, even like teams like Sentinels, if they, or One of the Thieves, have they really earned an invite? But these are the type of heavyweights where I don't mind, because they're here to like compete for these top placings. So we'll see how that turns out. But overall, like this, there is no tournament that comes remotely close, and I wish we would have had something like this in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that something similar to this and tying it to the Ignition series probably does when the orgs start to move. Still haven't seen much movement there. Weird. Interesting to see when and where that happens. It'll be interesting to kind of look back in history and say like, okay, well, what did they say and what did they actually do? And looking at the European scene. The only kind of tournament in NA that even comes close to this is maybe the Immortals First Light that happened not too long ago. And even then it was just like top 4 onwards was interesting. But before that, it was pretty slim pickings. It was everybody won who you expected to win, and that was that. And then you started to get your Gen Gs versus Immortals, your TSMs versus whoever they played at that tournament. I can't even remember. C9 playing some close games. 10's obviously showing up big, but yeah, this is like the first big one, and I'm big excited. Do we want to go through groups or do we want to talk about teams still?
We could go through groups. We don't have a ton of time.
Okay.
Then let's maybe focus on the best teams, right? Like who's most likely to make
like
it.
what if we do like let's start
Predictions?
with predictions. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like who you
That's
expect
tough.
to
I
take
still
it
haven't
all.
thought about it. Ooh.
And we'll do top 4. How's that? Top what's the best way to do
this is gonna be tough.
This is
I would say let's get to that, but let's start with who makes it out of groups.
Okay. Yeah, so top 8.
You want to
Let's
start
get
there?
top 8. Sure.
Okay.
I'm going to go through the
So-
list and you guys tell me yes or no. How's that? And then you
Yeah,
can
I'm looking at
justify it
this
and
as well.
qualify it.
Okay.
Sound good?
Mhm.
T1.
Yeah.
T1 makes it. Okay, that's 1.
Yeah.
Gen G.
Yeah.
Yep, they make it. Sentinels.
Likely?
No.
You don't think so? Who did they lose to?
Echo 8.
Oh.
So that's
Echo
Group
8?
D. Echo 8, Gen G, Mix Up, and Sentinels. So they probably... Yeah, it's very likely that they don't make it, or it's not very likely, but there's definitely scenarios.
It's a possibility, right?
It's
not certain.
Mix Up
Dude,
and Echo 8. Honestly, I don't.
Could be
Echo
either.
8 has been, for instance, has
beat them.
slapped together We Are Terrific almost on every occasion they've met.
It's true. It's true. I'm still
Another team
again
that just keeps winning everything.
So you just think that
yeah.
it's still possible. They haven't really played much, right? They haven't played in like a month in a tournament, right?
Much like it.
So there's a lot of like maybe Like, here's what I've seen from their stream footage and montages.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I think the big point here is that it's not a lock for Sentinels, and I think people are going to take that very harshly. If you're listening live, sorry. This team not great.
We don't know if
anyway.
they're great or not great. But on paper, they shouldn't be great.
They shouldn't be bad. They should easily get out, and I don't think that that's a lock. I do worry about this team. They've had plenty of time to improve. Just need to see it on paper.
So we'll put Sentinels in the 9 to 10 for right now. How's that?
Yeah.
Immortals.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yep.
Good old Coach Gumba.
Pretty easy group.
Let's go.
Good team.
TSM.
Yes.
Yep. So that's 5. Or sorry, 4. 3, 4. Okay. Team Ninja.
No.
Team Ninja. What group are they in?
Group C. 100 Thieves, Code 7, T1, Team Ninja.
It's not a super hard group for the second
It's
spin.
not.
No.
I mean,
It's definitely up in the air. Well, I don't think it's that up in the air.
I'm going to
but
do
we'll
it
get
just
there.
because I know
think-
it's going to tilt you guys. I'm going to say Team Ninja makes it through
Oh
groups.
my god.
If Team Ninja makes it out, we've got problems.
Team Ninja is. You just mark my
or
words
Grego
right
is
now.
cracked.
Or Ninja and
Grego,
Grego, maybe we get some
Sony,
all-stars.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just
I
saying.
respect Sony. Shout outs to Sony. You come from WoW, I believe. Memory serves me. Much respect,
Okay.
but you're gonna lose.
That's not relevant at all. Okay, Cloud9.
Yes. I'll say yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Mix up.
No.
Possibly. Unlikely,
No.
but possibly.
Yeah.
Again,
That was
Sentinels
team
is the
in Metro.
toss-up. Probably.
Okay. Code 7.
No.
Probably not. So no.
Ugh. The new roster. 100 Thieves.
They should.
Yeah. I
They
think
should.
So.
I
Seven,
think with
eight.
the history with High Ground and Hiko, just as like a player,
Mhm.
you should be making it out of this group. If you don't make it out of the group, I think you've got a big problem.
Okay. Corey. Sorry, not Corey. Face Clan.
I'm gonna say no.
Not yet.
I'm
Talk
gonna
to me in
say
6 weeks,
yes.
and I would say yes.
I'm sure Corey will do great. I'm expecting him to do very well. This team is too new. I can't in good faith say that they're going to make
Justice
it out.
all over again.
Yeah,
Basically.
I think this boy is just always going to be doing the heavy lifting by himself. And I hope that that's the case from what we've seen from him in Overwatch. For those who are not Overwatch fans, very, very skilled aimer. Seems pleasant to be around for the most part. Seems fairly vocal as well. So somebody to keep your eye on if you're not familiar. Good kid. Very, very skilled. Very talented.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make a good team. And I think there are better teams in that group.
So we've got 2 left.
Yeah.
That was 6. So between Charlotte, Phoenix, Together, Prospects, Spot Up, and Echo 8, you're saying Prospects and Echo 8.
I'm saying together we are terrific.
Together
and Cloud9 make it out of Group A.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
then the second one.
I guess we can real quick, and I think we won't disagree much. Cloud9, together we are terrific. A.
Yep.
B is Immortals TSM.
Yep.
C is probably
T1.
100 Thieves T1.
Yep.
And then
T1
Group
Ninja.
D.
T1 Ninja. We already discussed this. Get
Sure,
out of here.
sure.
T1
That's your
Ninja
ballot.
for C.
Yeah. And
And
then D.
D is it's definitely Gen
It's
G.
Genji and then someone.
Either Sentinels or Echo.
Yeah.
Right. Or
I'd agree.
I mean, you.
I'd agree. So those are the teams getting out of groups.
Mhm.
How they progress past that point, hard to say. It's gonna really
it's way
depend
too
on
up
what
in the
seed
air,
you
right?
get,
Seeding, all
where
that
they
kind of
seed
stuff.
you. 100%, but those are the teams to look out for today in 20 or so minutes and this weekend.
Try 13. Try 13.
Big mistake. Do we want to look at like favorites? Maybe who wins, who loses?
Yeah, let's
kind of just general placings.
Give me your top. You choose 2 teams to win.
Okay.
You have 2 teams. You get to choose 2 teams to win.
Okay.
That's easy, right?
Yeah, that's easy. And it doesn't include Team Ninja.
then you're wrong. Then you're wrong.
Could be.
I don't know what to
Could
tell
be
you.
wrong.
Okay. I should
my
stop standing for Team Ninja because people won't understand that I'm joking, and then they're gonna think that I actually am just so casual that I'm like, hey, Team Ninja. I do think that they could. I do think that they could actually get out of groups, though.
It's possible.
It's a weak group.
I think it is a weak group. There is some possibility if Grego is as cracked as Yiska claims, and obviously Ninja's multi-game talent. Maybe they upset. It's definitely not a non-zero chance.
I will say Grego hasn't responded to my DMs, which either might be intended to break my feelings or they've been practicing a lot. Either of the two.
Or he's moving. He's making
or
moves. He doesn't want to talk about it until the moves are mid.
It's true. But top 2, I think there's only 2 very, very clear teams, and that's T1 and TSM. I find it very difficult to make an argument for literally anybody else. I think.
All right, give me 4. Give me 4. T1, TSM.
Okay, and then second, third, fourth. I'll say
Team Ninja.
No.
And one.
See, there's a spicy pick here, but I'm still not sure. I'll go with the safe one. I'll say T1, TSM is a clear top teams, and then another kind of tier down. Leading that pack, I think, is Gen G and Immortals.
You didn't even have to scroll past the second line there. You just going alphabetically? Or based on order of invite? Minus Sentinels?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I wanna put like Cloud9 in there. But
no.
I just can't. Tens is just I love Tens so much.
Tens is very good.
I love Tens so much. I want Cloud9 to be so good. They're not.
No, they're not.
All right.
100 Thieves might make a stab though.
So let's Yiska, give me your 4. T1, TSM.
Yeah, T1, TSM, Cloud9, Gen G.
Spicy.
Cloud9, Gen G. So T1, TSM, Gen G for me as well. If I'm going purely statistically, I have to say Immortals. But if I'm going with the heart and the top 4 is never what you really think, I'm going to say that we get a really surprising move here from a team.
Who gets the nod? Who gets the nod?
Together. I'm giving
that's by the way, if
the audio together.
If the audio listeners are wondering what that noise was that John just made, it's when he pulls out that take out of his behind, of course.
The fuck.
The best part about all of this was Peggy leaving the exact moment that happened.
The hell.
I like the pick though. That's what I was battling in my head.
I was
giving the nod to Together We're Terrific.
To be truthfully, I was going back and forth between being really spicy and saying 100 Thieves or going to Together, and then I was trying not to say the short term of the word.
Yeah.
So I was also battling that. Thank you very much.
Why are you not high on Cloud9, guys?
Bro, they're not good.
Because Tens is good, Poach is okay, and then everybody else can.
Yeah, they're not good. They play smart.
For spot.
I like 4 of them are going to be on that roster simply because, Shinobi and who's the other guy?
Mitch.
Yeah, they've been playing with them almost exclusively in these events, right? So,
and that's who I look at. If you remember, back to last show, I'm like, C9 needs help. It's just Tens and Mitch most of the time.
It's really Tens
some other
heavy.
People step
Teams adapt to it pretty quickly. Tens
Yep.
will frag like the first 4 rounds of each side, and then they kind of go. It's like, and again, like that's why like I want them to win
Yeah.
because of Tens.
Yep.
But
he deserves to be at the top.
he
But
deserves
this
to be on Team Ninja.
Yeah.
Give him the platform. Give him the platform.
Ninja could be like that kind of Reginald type character where he just makes his own esports org, just kind of wins everything, and then like it lasts and it just becomes the new TSM.
Well, because the new 100
Definitely
Thieves
a strategy.
too.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Worst branding. I don't know if you can beat 100 Thieves branding, man.
Yeah, they're
I mean,
nuts.
They're so insane.
They're like clean face. That's always what I think of them as. Does that make sense? They're like King Cloud.
No,
King Cloud, but not I know it's about branding, right? But
this analogy is really good.
what?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about either.
What is
Is
so
that a
controversial?
Mario character, King
big
Cloud?
numbers.
Nothing about this is controversial. I have no idea what
You
you're
don't
talking
know
about.
the expression King Cloud? Okay, boomers.
I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ. How am I the oldest in the call? And like you could be my dad's like
King Cloud is a mattress?
I just for some reason looked for Merce, an American rapper, on my phone.
Sweet.
But yeah, like it's just 100 Thieves understands how to build hype and clout without being the abrasive and like problematic type of content creators. And
Would agree.
like they put out a ton of merch that like is super nice, much like Face, and they do it in a rather clean way, so it's advertiser friendly. And
Sure.
I mean, then again, they had a little bit of a spicy situation recently, right? But yeah, overall, pretty good org.
I'd agree.
Yeah. We're going to get out of here. That was fun. Fun show. Thanks for joining us
That
on
was good.
Discord, by the way. Both
For the
both Fish and
couple
Eric,
people that stung around. Yeah.
both of our
Shout
viewers.
outs.
What a bunch of sweeties. Anyways, ton of fun. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoy the tournament this weekend. Follow the show, twitch.tv/KickedTripod, twitter.com/SpikeDrop, and youtube.com/SpikeDrop as well. And of course, we're on all of your RSS feeds. Have fun in the T1 XN3RD Street Invitational, or not Invitational, Showdown. This
Yeah.
weekend.
Tune in.
Have a ton of fun. Shout out to the week, where people can find you. Joe, what's up, dude? You guys came out with your you came out with like a whole expose on
Yeah,
the
we
T1
did.
tournament.
We
Didn't
tried
even
to do
invite
power
me. Didn't even
rankings
invite
as
me.
best we could. Came out a little later, but so did the team, so it was tough to add to it and whatnot. But that's out. If you need a primer, go check that out. And then probably this weekend at some point, spoke with a friend of the show, Kenobi, and we talked about Leaves coming of age in the Overwatch League, and yeah, that'll be out soonish.
Why did you not interview me about Leaf?
Because you would have just memed the entire time because you hate Chinese Overwatch.
No, I would have just told you he's worse than Color Hacks.
Yeah, we know. You know, yeah, we know.
I would have been right.
That's incorrect. Your Honor, that is badgering the witness.
Oh, yes,
I
guys.
had
Shout
any
out to
reason.
the week
Nothing
so
to-
I can end this show, please.
We put out some the power rankings for the Nerd Street Gamer. If you want to check that out, also want to judge our predictive power in terms of having very sporadic knowledge of all these teams, which is guaranteed to be massively
So
wrong.
if Overwatch League power rankings are tough, this is basically just...
This is hard mode.
Yeah, and we hard moded it. 3K words for your pleasure, directly into your eyeballs. Maybe I hope I'll get a bunch of coverage. Like next week, of course, I'm going to be on vacation, but after that, as Valorant tournaments pick up, I hope to have more for you guys to watch there on GG Recon and my personal Twitter at Yiska.
All right. You can find me everywhere at KickedTripod except for YouTube. YouTube.com/John Horseman. I'm going to get that changed if you like audio streaming type content. Otherwise, Twitter and Twitch. Follow me at KickedTripod, and we'll see you there. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit distracted. Dr. Disrespect has been reportedly permanently banned.
Yep.
And I just got it on good authority from someone who says Doc is indeed done and not just on Twitch. I know why and cannot say, but this is serious. Damn.
Wow. That's interesting.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, sorry if I was a little distracted there the last 10 minutes. I was trying to not pay attention to that. Did a really good job until the end. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.